Hi everybody. My name is Dr. Viet Bui. I graduated from UCLA in 2008. I currently work as a senior academic advisor at a university across town. We'll just leave it at that. And I'm currently located in Santa Ana, and that's actually where is my hometown. That's where I grew up and raised. Sure. I work as a senior academic advisor, and as an academic advisor, that's kind of a part of a broad category of, careers, which I would say in student affairs. And that's basically, you think of anything at a university that doesn't involve academics specifically, it involves the student experience. And I found kind of a roundabout way to student affairs. And you would probably wonder, how did someone go from political science to student affairs? Well, that journey in itself was one that was very roundabout. When I graduated, my background was largely more on community advocacy work, nonprofit volunteering, and some organizing, and that was kind of my background. I was really involved in my community, my local community, and I was really interested in continuing that work. So, as a student of political science, most folks hear that, well, you work in a government office, or you work as a policy analyst, or you go into the nonprofit world. And those were areas that I had all kind of dived into, but this was 2008. And what happened was, by chance, I was able to get a job working in sales at a bank. So I said, well, let me just work for a year to have a job, and kind of see where it goes from there. And 1 year had turned into 4, and I learned a lot, grew in that position. And on the side, I had volunteered as a board member of the Asia Pacific Alumni of UCLA. And I interviewed students for scholarships. And I saw, when I connected with students again, I was like, hey, this is really impactful work. Like, how do I take my passion in working with students now and actually make a career out of it? And that's when I discovered, that I can work in student affairs. And I was able to connect with an advisor that I had at UCLA. And that person really kind of served as a guiding influence for me to kind of explore work in student affairs. Sure. So, broadly in the social sciences, and that's kind of where political science is, generally I'd say, skills related to critical thinking, analyzing information, and really understanding relationships between people and recognizing power dynamics. I'd say political science is very uniquely equipped to do that, because in your study of politics, and I think folks are who explore political science come to realize that it's more than just understanding, capital letter politics in terms of Republicans and Democrats and political parties. It's actually more than that. It's at its root, political science really analyzes the relationship of power, who wields it and why. And in a way, when you work in any environment or any industry, there's always what they call, politics. And that's something that a lot of folks shy away from because they're afraid, or get kind of dissuaded because they hear, oh, politics, so-and-so is in control and so-and-so doesn't get this. And ultimately, it's navigating limited resources. We exist in a world where resources are limited, and who receives power and who controls it is ultimately those who understand the political process. What I learned in my major can really serve universally the applicability of these skills. So for a political science degree, again, your job range is pretty broad. I think a lot of folks usually assume that, when you study political science, that's kind of a gateway into law school, which it certainly is. And, considering the law school route, the pre-law route is certainly there, but also more traditionally, focusing on government work. And again, the government work could not necessarily mean just working for a legislator or doing a fellowship program, but it may also mean, working with different, larger arms of the government in terms of, let's say, like a Department of Public Health, or different bodies of government that involve policy analysis or work. And that's certainly there. Another pivot where a lot of folks go, if they've kind of built up that government experience, is to actually work for government relation arms of different companies. I mean, companies, at the end of the day, there's still that relationship between private industry and their relationship with government. And, large corporations have government relation arms to be able to understand, how does government policy affect this particular industry, and also folks who could try to help to influence and lobby and try to adjust policy to kind of be more reflective and supportive of whatever interest that you are advocating on behalf of. So it could be for a corporation, it could be for a nonprofit. And then even in the field that I'm in, which is in student affairs, there's there's still an understanding of like, how do things get done at the university? How do, especially at a public institution like UCLA, the relationship with government is key. As government funding fluctuates and changes, how is education preserved as a right for individuals here in the state of California and beyond? So that in itself is also where you can find yourself working toward. Yeah, it's interesting, talking with folks who are UCLA students. I mean, you are in the industry that I work in, and that's in higher education, and the COVID situation has certainly impacted. I mean, the fact that we're doing this interview and having this is a testament to that. But I think, I will say that universities aren't going anywhere. Higher education isn't going anywhere. It's, folks see the value, and, you've decided to become a UCLA Bruin and be, informed and educated because of a belief in higher education. And higher ed isn't necessarily going anywhere. It's more about the nature of higher ed. How much is that changing? And how much of that, again, we're in this totally online situation. How much of that will change? How much will, when things get back to normal, are they going to be back to normal? And what's the nature of online learning? But at the end of the day, it's the student experience is still there. Students, you come to UCLA, you come to any university because you want to get that development and learning, not only in your major, but also with the university environment. How do you facilitate that in the situation when folks are online? So I think what Student Affairs is really looking into is how do you foster that engagement and support virtually, and it's things like this that there's still opportunity. Folks will still need programming. People are still hungry for knowledge, and as a student affairs professional, you will find ways to facilitate this through hosting panels, doing interviews, things like that. And those types of initiatives will always be needed, and it's just really a shift in terms of just how these things are delivered. So 2 to 3 years down the line, I mean, you're still going to need folks to support students, and especially in the work that I do as an academic advisor. Folks are still navigating their majors, and there's still weird things about classes and how to apply my major and all these things like that will never go away. One thing that I wish I definitely would have done is, as involved as I was, I didn't actually really speak to folks who were in the professional world and the work that I was interested in. And I think it's easier said than done, but honestly, I would say if you see or meet anybody who's doing something that you would see yourself doing, talk to that person and actually be willing to just ask, like, hey, I'd love to know more about what you do and how to get there. And you'd be surprised. Folks are very receptive to just speaking. People love to talk about themselves. I mean, I'm taking this opportunity to talk about myself, and folks love to do that. And it's really because, why not? Why not just share your experience and help inform others to do great things? And similarly, if you see somebody who's doing something that you want to do or are interested in, just ask them. And, you'll be able to find some time, especially now in this digital era. It's so easy to connect to folks. In the past, it was much harder to find time for calls, but, even though folks may seem busy, folks will find time, especially if they're good people. They will definitely make time for you. And I'd say if you reach out to someone and they don't reach out to you back or don't respond, then they probably won't worth your time. So in a way, that kind of only helps you, and you could find folks who are good people and love to chat with you. So to do that, and likewise, I would say what you're doing now, hearing from alumni, hearing from folks is already doing that great first step. So I hope you will continue to do that and really make the most of your time, at UCLA, and you have a great, family of Bruins to support you. And with that, I hope you find more opportunities to stay involved. And of course, just do that. And with that, I think I'll just go ahead and wrap it up and, go Bruins.